William Faulkner created a story called The Sound and the Fury, and reading that book did some damage to me, unironically, and I couldn't finish it. It's one of the only fucking books that I have not been able to finish in my life. Like not because because there's a difference between not finishing a book because you got bored and not finishing a book because you like it pains you to read it. You know what I mean? Like it actually, not just because it's bad, but like it's like just affecting you negatively.
Just bought the whole drop. What are your top 3 book
You're
recommendations?
kidding me, bro.
Always looking for more books to read.
Bro, who are you? Ben Grant. Who are you, my friend? Well, okay. I will deviate from what I was talking about, absolutely, for a man of, your class and taste. My boy, okay, 3 book recommendations. Always looking for more books to read. This is my kind of guy, bro. Dropping $25 asking what books to read. You're a goat, my friend. Thank you very much. But okay, 3. So I'll tell you what I bought. I'll show you what I bought today, okay? All right? This is where the money you're giving me is going, okay? Look at this shit. Wow. I bought a Bible, dude. Take me to church. I'll worship like a dog. All right. I didn't buy a Bible. This is actually, look at this. Oh, it's upside down, bro. That's embarrassing. A Fable by William Faulkner. The Franklin Library. I actually dislike William Faulkner because he created a book that has affected my brain chemistry in a pretty negative way, potentially. Although I don't regret anything, of course. But The Sound and the Fury. Okay, William Faulkner created a story called The Sound and the Fury, and reading that book did some damage to me, unironically, and I couldn't finish it. It's one of the only fucking books that I have not been able to finish in my life. Like not because because there's a difference between not finishing a book because you got bored and not finishing a book because you like it pains you to read it. You know what I mean? Like it actually, not just because it's bad, but like it's fucking like just affecting you negatively. And so I decided to pick this up when I saw it because basically I wanted to see if I could break into the Faulkner verse with another story. And this copy looks really fucking cool. That's the bigger reason, I think. Yeah, it was not very expensive. It was like 25 bones, which, bro, come on. A new book that's just like paperback shitter is 25 bones. You seeing this shit? Gold fucking pages. This is the Golden Freddy fucking book, bro. You seeing that shit? This is like mythic pull, okay? Crazy as fuck. You know a book is fucking expensive when it comes with a gold-plated bookmark built in, okay? So, sorry, I'm not recommending this book. I would never recommend anybody, honest to God, not anybody, a William Faulkner story, just based off the one that I've read so far. But I will read this, and I'll let you know how it goes, if I vibe with it and whatever. Maybe I will, come around to our boy Faulkner. Fucker. Anyway, so yeah, okay. 3 book recommendations, all right. Okay, I need to know a little bit more about you, okay, my boy? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ben Grant, but I feel like I have not seen you in the chat of many streams before this day, okay? Now, that's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But the reason that I am, pointing that out is because when I recommend books, okay, I want them to be taken seriously. And how should I take them seriously? by understanding kind of a little bit of what you're looking for or what you're desiring. Are you a fantasy guy? Like, do you prefer reading a fictional story, or are you more of a nonfiction motherfucker? I'll assume that you're more of a fiction fuck because I am more of a fiction fuck. But are you a classic literature guy, or are you like more of like read modern stories that are kind of more so like exciting? What kind of guy are you? Now here's what I'll say. Okay, there's three books that I do recommend relatively often. Okay, and I'll give you it's like a good range, these books. Okay. Number 1 is Pillars of the Earth. Okay? Pillars of the Earth is one of the most gripping, narrative experiences I've had reading. Okay? It's got it all. Okay? And the weird thing is that it takes place, I believe, 1100s England. Okay? This time period was never interesting to me at all. Okay, just the association with that time period, and just thinking about how fucking annoying it would be to live in that time and how brutal it was. Whatever, it just always turned me off. I never liked stories about that shit. This changed my mind. This single-handedly, this story, made me kind of appreciate not just it does. It gives a certain kind of context for that time period. It makes you certainly appreciate, life today a bit more. But at the same time, it made me fucking excited to read. Okay. And so the whole plot, Pillars of the Earth, such a fucking boring concept on paper. But it's basically a story that follows a mason who is tasked with building a church. Okay. And somehow it becomes an extremely exciting story, There's a reason it's such a fucking popular book, and there is a TV show based on it. Yeah. Thanks, Goka. I wanted this info. Yes, no worries. This is the reason that I start by recommending Pillars of the Earth is because that is enjoyable to read. Okay, it truly is. Yeah, it'll make you feel a lot. Like, let's be clear. Okay, I'm not going to recommend you a book that is just like a light read. I'm fucked. Okay, so it has to be something that will be an adventure. There will be ups and downs. You'll hopefully come out of it feeling like, holy shit, what an experience, type of thing. You know what I mean? But yes, Pillars of the Earth would be one where it's like, you'll read that and you'll be glad you read it. I don't know much context for who you are. Okay, Mr. Ben Grant? I don't even know if you're in the chat right now because I'm that fucking narrow-minded. I'm that negligent. But if your age, if you are, I don't know. If you're under the age of 30, okay, this next one might do something for you. Or you might hate it, but we'll see. Building a Church sounds like the music Lilies of the Field. It's a really good book. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, the pitch sucks. And let's be clear, how did I fucking start reading this book? Well, it's pretty simple. I take people's recommendations. When somebody recommends me to read a book, and I can tell that they actually do mean it, right? Like, it's like one-on-one. They tell me to read a book. It's not just like a fucking, a formality or whatever. I actually do read it. Okay. I think that's one of the biggest signs of respect is that when someone seriously recommends you a book, you actually put in the time to read it. You know what I mean? And I think that's beautiful because then when you actually do get around to reading it, like, you can take your time because they're going to forget that they recommended it to you. But when you do take the time to read it, guess what? When you finish reading that book, you can message them and be like, damn, thank you for recommending me this. And they'll be like, holy shit, he actually read it. What the fuck? and they'll be like, this person actually listened to me. You know what I mean? Because how many times do you recommend books to people, or people recommend books to you, and you're like, okay, and then you never read them? Probably most of the time. Yeah. But Pillars of the Girth, shut the fuck up. I know you're a mod, but watch it. Anyway, to be fair though, there is sex in Pillars of the Earth. Anyway. Oh, last book I read was a bunch of short stories by Chuck Palahniuk. That's the creator, the writer of Fight Club. I probably misspelled that, but 10 or 11 short stories. Yeah, Fight Club, yeah. Thank you, Oxpecker. I'll give you a recommendation. You should read Dune. Cool. Thank you, Night Owl Joe. Yeah, that's probably a good recommendation, bro. I mean, Dune, look, I believe you. I believe that that's a dope, thing to watch. About as many times as I've recommended Annihilation of Sneeko, and people didn't have the time of day for me. Look, and if you recommend people watch The Absolute Annihilation of Sneeko, you know that if they actually do, they'll be thankful, okay? They'll be like, damn, bro, you put me onto game here. But yes, I understand getting people to commit to a 2-hour-long video is like difficult in this day and age, but you'll be able to tell who's actually listening to you, by those who actually watch it. Anyway, let's be clear. Watching a 2-hour-long YouTube video is not nearly as much of a commitment as reading a fucking book, Like, that's why it's such a overt sign of respect to actually read a book that someone recommends. Because it's like, dude, you just devoted like 10 to 20 hours of your life to reading this. Anyway, our boy Phallic Weapon just donated. Yo, thank you, bro. What's up? Holy fuck, 10 bones. Thank you, bro. Do you think you could take this commentary on literature and expand it into your YouTube commentary? I would be interested in your perspective. What do you mean by this? I need you to break that down a little bit better. Like you're saying, bleed in, these stories into the commentaries that I do? Because I have already kind of done that. Do you want me to do it more overtly or subtly? Anyway. Okay, second recommendation. All right. I'm sorry, man. I know I'm meandering, but you've literally purchased a fuckload of merch and have donated me money. So, I want to give you, ample motivation and answers to your questions. So, second book that I would highly recommend is Crime and Punishment. Why do I recommend Crime and Punishment? Well, I'm assuming that you've watched a Sneeko video. If you're willing to spend this much money on me, I'm assuming that's probably the reason why, okay? Crime and Punishment is a fascinating fucking case study of how a, resentful, basically, talented but resentful guy can convince himself to commit a heinous fucking crime, can talk his way through his own head into convincing himself that, oh yes, it is rational for me to do something horrific, And when you read Crime and Punishment, okay, I don't know what your life is like. If you're able to spend this much money, just drop it on a fucking random streamer's head, your life might be great. Many YouTubers do random game streams. Please try that. Okay, Brick Hole, thank you for the $2. Your life might be going great, okay? You might be super fulfilled. You might have a happy relationship, family, all this stuff. I don't know, okay? But if you are feeling resentful, if you ever, feel a deep anger, a deep fucking irrational almost resentment, Crime and Punishment might be the book for you, okay? If you consider yourself a smart but underappreciated person. Okay? If you think you have talents and skills that are not, appropriately perceived by others, if you feel like your potential is going to waste and it makes you fucking mad, you should read Crime and Punishment. Okay? The biggest reason that I recommend people read Crime and Punishment is because for many years, okay, I didn't like the ending. I did not like the ending of Crime and Punishment, okay? And I'm not going to spoil it for you. But let me put it like this. The story's pretty simple. A crime occurs. And then the rest of the, like, a crime occurs really early on in the story, and then the rest of it, okay, you're going and you're thinking, dude, when does the punishment come? When is the punishment coming? The punishment has to come. You know what I mean? And you start to realize the punishment is every fucking minute after the crime occurs. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a good book, in my opinion, not because you'll read it and be like, dude, I'm literally Light Yagami, okay? I'm literally L from Death Note, you know what I mean? Okay, here, let me put it like this. When you're a young man, all right, and this might apply for women, I don't really know, okay? But when you're a young man and you read anime, sometimes you can like convince yourself that you're like an evil genius, a Machiavellian, someone who's just like, smarter than the rest, all this shit. And even if that's true, which it probably isn't, okay, let's be clear, it probably is not true. Certainly not in my case. You can read something like Death Note. You can watch like media where like some evil, genius is fucking, and you can watch these like kind of power, tripping type stories, and you can feel energized. You can be like, okay, for people who watch American Psycho, okay, if you watch American Psycho and you're like, dude, I want to be Patrick Bateman, that's so fucking cool. Okay. If you identify with these, anti heroes or whatever, reading Crime and Punishment is a good reflection. Okay, it's a good look into the mirror, because the main character is basically someone who takes the anti-hero route. Okay, but it's not cool. It's just not fucking cool. 0%. Once you actually do it in real life, it's like instantly like, what the fuck have I done? You know what I mean? It's like a smack in the face. It's like a harsh reorienting into reality. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. I've felt a fraction of the guilt that Raskolnikov, the main character of Crime and Punishment, experiences. And I will say, it fucking sucks. And so I don't think any of you are planning on doing crimes or anything like that. But I do think that, bitter, resentful people who feel like they've been passed, on, right? Like that their talents or skills or what they have to offer hasn't been appreciated by the world. I feel like these types of people, you might be one of them, I don't know. I'm one of them. They tend to exert their resentment in very weird ways. You know what I mean? Like they basically will take their anger out. They'll take their bitterness out on people who don't necessarily deserve it. They'll almost passive aggressively make the lives of those around them worse in an attempt to lash out and to kind of, exert themselves on the earth in some fucking capacity. And so by reading Crime and Punishment, I think that you can probably just become more self-aware of that, and also fucking autismify yourself a little bit, because yeah, the story of Crime and Punishment is basically a guy who gets so fucking trapped in his own damn head, convinces himself basically of so much shit in his head. Okay, he basically has like this whole theory that in order to become someone like Napoleon, okay, because this takes place in, about 1900s Russia, okay, but I think 1880s Russia-ish. But it's basically a guy who convinces himself in the 1880s, okay, whatever. The whole thing was like Napoleon was like the coolest figure ever, because look what he accomplished. I mean, of course, look at how his life ended, but, people ignore that. They're like, look at what he accomplished. Okay, he was remembered in history, fine. But Raskolnikov's whole thing is that he wants to basically be a somebody. He wants to be, the one who takes what he desires, right? He wants to have a will to power. And so he comes up with a theory that it's like, basically he needs to not give a shit about the peasants if he's going to be basically like a superior being, you know what I mean? Anyway, and so he gets so fucking in his own head, so fucking, trapped in his own theories and his own philosophies and all this. And the story is effectively when this little echo chamber, little bubble that this motherfucker creates for himself, it shatters. And the shards of that glass, they do not cut just him, okay? There's collateral damage. So, yeah, it's basically a harsh, confrontation with the real. Only at gokamerch.com, baby. But yeah, that leads us to a third book recommendation, okay? I have a lot of hatred that I will directly show him. His entire morality is skewed and I despise it, so I can relate. Interesting phallic weapon. Okay. Sounds like Russian propaganda. Yo, Sacred Wanderer. What the fuck are you talking about? Me recommending Crime and Punishment, one of the most respected stories of classic literature or whatever, especially of Russian literature. That seems like Russian propaganda to you? A story that was written in the 1880s, give or take? Okay. Whatever you say. Okay, what can I recommend as the third one? So I got Pillars of the Earth, which is fun, basically. I got Crime and Punishment, which is like... It's also a good read. Let's be clear. That's a fucking... to me, it was a good read. Okay, not to everybody, but whatever. But it also kind of has a little bit of a message that, to me, hits a lot harder. Oh, man. I'm not going to recommend another Russian author. But Tolstoy has a short story, and I believe it's The Death of Ivan... The fuck is it? Tolstoy? Yeah, Ivan Ilyich. Okay. Yeah, so Tolstoy has this fucking short story, The Death of Ivan Ilyich. And it's so fucking brutal. It's so brutal. If you need a reason to to try and live your life in a more fulfilling manner, if you need a reason to seek out friends and relationships with people who actually fucking love you and care about you, maybe read that. But that's not my recommendation. It's basically, what that is basically a story of a guy dying, okay? Like he is dying of some kind of stomach problem or whatever, and he has his whole family kind of dealing with him, and then as it becomes more and more obvious he's actually going to die, people give less and less of a fuck about him, kind of. And yeah, very depressing, but it's short. So, but anyway, that's not my third recommendation. My third recommendation, let me think. Oh shit. Should I do Dorian Gray, bro? Okay, this is a book that I fucking read recently, okay? It was recommended to me by a friend. Actually, she's been on stream before, Jasmine. For those some of you might remember Jasmine on stream. But The Picture of Dorian Gray was a very good book. Very weird book, but very good book. It was a lot of fun to read. Okay? Weird amount of fun to read. And I do think that the message is at the very least interesting. But yes, if you want to see writing at its like peak, in my opinion, read The Picture of Dorian Gray. Okay? Yeah. Everyone's recommending like read the Communist Manifesto, politics books. Look, I'm not gonna recommend to somebody unless he specifies that he's looking for nonfiction. I am not gonna recommend nonfiction because who the fuck is gonna read nonfiction when they don't read nonfiction? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, when it comes to here's the thing, right? Look, this might sound like cope, and it kind of is. I do think that there are people who are more narratively minded. I'm one of these people. Like, I can learn so much by reading Crime and Punishment. You know what I mean? I can learn so much by reading Pillars of the Earth, right? I can, in a lot of ways, learn more about, the historical context of 1100s England by reading Pillars of the Earth than I could by reading a textbook. And that's not because the textbook has less information. It's because I will retain it so much better because I'll be invested in the narrative, right? So there's people who are narratively minded, and then there's people who are much more like, kind of facts oriented or like matter of fact, if that makes sense, for whom the narrative is boring and whatever. Yeah, I'm not really speaking to those types. So, this is the narrative time for me. But yeah, Dorian Gray, okay? The Picture of Dorian Gray. That's my third recommendation. And again, that might seem like a book that is boring.
Have you read any of Terry Pratchett? It's dumb fun, but also not dumb.
I'll add that. What would you recommend? Terry Pratchett? Is that a series? No, it's an author. Okay. Let's see. Wait up. Interesting. I haven't read any of this. Do you have a recommendation, like a specific one? Looks like fantasy novels. Give me a recommendation and I will look into it, okay, my friend? Thank you very much for the donation. But yeah, Dorian Gray, another one that sounds like it might be boring, but trust me, bro, the writing is fucking good. It's fun. It's got riz, bro. Like, dude, there's a character in Picture of Dorian Gray that just has so much riz, and he's like asserting fucking so many little facts that are just not like provable, but he's making all these assertions, and it's so much fun, bro. It feels like you're reading just a extremely eloquent version of when you're just talking with friends and they're just like bullshitting, but who gives a shit because you're just, you know what I mean? And the interesting thing is, so Pillars of the Earth was written, I believe, I believe early 2000s, maybe 90s. Let me check. Pillars of the Earth. Yeah, okay, my bad. Pillars of the Earth was released in 1989, okay? By Ken Follett. And he's like an English guy, okay? And again, it takes place in 1100s England. Picture of Dorian Gray is written, I believe, in 1890s, okay? So, about 100 years earlier. Obviously written by Oscar Wilde. The interesting lore with Oscar Wilde is that, allegedly, he was a gay man operating in England at a time when it was illegal to be gay. Okay. And yeah, I mean, he's commonly basically viewed as a martyr in a lot of ways because he actually did get arrested and sentenced.
I'm a bad boy.
He got sentenced to hard
Can you
labor.
explain a little about Machiavelli in terms of the two truths? Really like your takes on Machiavelli.
Damn. Ben Grant, you're a Machiavelli boy, huh? Thank you, bro. Have you heard of the book Holes? That's my recommendation. Yeah, I read Holes. I have read Holes, dude. That's a pretty fun book. Yeah. What were the books you recommended again? Crime and Punishment and another one. Here, I'll list them right now. It was Pillars of the Earth. One sec. Pillars of the Earth. Crime and Punishment. And The Picture of Dorian Gray. So, Pillars of the Earth is the most fun to read, I think. Yeah, I would say Pillars of the Earth is like the most like epic, fun, kind of like typical kind of story. Crime and Punishment is just goated as fuck and is like very, in my opinion, like introspective, if this makes sense. It's just goated, like in my opinion. And then Picture of Dorian Gray, super well written, got a very rich lore history to it, and it also kind of professes a very, very valuable message to me. All of these, to me, all three of these were very fun to read, but that's to me, so yeah.